Welcome to the Musings of Jessica Marie. Black Americans have always had to fight for equal rights and treatment in America. Whether the fight was on a plantation, in a courtroom, or even at a place of education, there have been many brave and courageous people who have stood up against the massive bloodshed, treachery, and thievery experienced by the Black community. Join me as we shine a historical spotlight on John Brown, one of the few white abolitionists in the 1800s who fought against slavery and the unfair treatment of Black people. John Brown was born on May 9, 1800 in Torrington, Connecticut. His parents, Owen and Ruth, were strong evangelical Christians, heavily influenced by the Puritan faith, and had a severe disdain for the act of slavery. In 1805, the family moved to Hudson, Ohio, which later became the most anti-slavery region of the country. They were active in anti-slavery activity and debate, and even offered a safe house for the Underground Railroad and those fleeing persecution. After elementary school, he studied with abolitionist Elijah Wright in nearby Talmadge. When he was 12 years old, he witnessed a slave being beaten and vowed to dedicate his life to improving conditions for Black Americans. At 16, he left his family to pursue a liberal education and become a gospel minister. Unfortunately, he suffered from chronic eye inflammation, which prevented him from continuing in his studies. He ultimately returned to Ohio, opened a successful tannery with his adopted brother, and took his first wife named Dianthe. In 1825, John moved to Pennsylvania to operate a safe and productive Underground Railroad station in a better location. He bought 200 acres of land, cleared only an eighth of it, and built a cabin, two-story tannery, and a barn with a secret, well-ventilated room to hide escaping slaves. For 10 years, his farm was an important stop on the Underground Railroad and helped about 2,500 people escape captivity. He moved back to Ohio in 1836. The murder of Elijah Parrish Lovejoy in November 1837 for printing an abolitionist newspaper lit a fire in John and made him become more militant in fighting the system. He moved to Springfield, Massachusetts, and was able to meet nationally famous abolitionists like Frederick Douglass and Sojourner Truth. It is also where he started organizing anti-slavery community efforts, eventually turning Springfield into the safest and most significant stops on the Underground Railroad. Despite his hard work, the United States passed the Fugitive Slave Act, which mandated that free states had to cooperate in returning escaped slaves and imposed penalties on those who didn't comply. In response, John founded a militant group to prevent the recapture of any fugitives called the League of Gileadites. After the formation of the group, not one person was ever taken back into slavery from Springfield. During the Bleeding Kansas period, John and his sons moved to Kansas in 1855 to help the battle against slavery. He rallied support and became the leader of the anti-slavery forces in the state after witnessing the gruesome violence from the pro-slavery activists. On the night of May 24, 1856, he led the Potawatomi Massacre and killed 5 professional slave hunters and militant pro-slavery settlers. This, in turn, sparked the 3-month period of retaliatory raids and battles that killed 29 people across Kansas. While his actions in Kansas led to federal warrants being issued for his arrest, he continued fighting against slavery and became extremely careful of how he traveled across the country. Unbeknownst to most people other than his wife, John had been planning a major attack on American slavery long before he took action. In order to deliver a substantial blow to the system of slavery, John organized a raid on Harper's Ferry in Virginia. He kept the plans quiet and only shared important tactical details with those he absolutely knew he could trust. He spent years planning, contributing, and recruiting men to fight for his cause. On the night of October 16, 1859, The group of forces set out to take the armory, arsenal, town, and rifle factory, and then free all the slaves in the area. They were advised to take prisoners who disobeyed them and to only fight in self-defense. Unfortunately, a passing train sent a telegram to President Buchanan and Virginia Governor Henry Wise, which sent the U.S. Army into action. The Army swept in on the morning of October 18th and captured John and the rest of his men. Most of the men who fought with John were either killed during the raid or captured and executed. Most of the Black Americans who were freed were unfortunately returned to their slaveholders, but an unknown percentage were able to successfully escape capture. Ultimately, John was found guilty of treason and conspiracy to invoke a slave insurrection. He was sentenced to be publicly hanged on December 2nd and made history as the first person executed for treason in the United States. John Brown was one of the few white people during his time that went up against societal norms to advocate for the Black community. Though his life ended abruptly, his efforts to change the pro-slavery society didn't go unrecognized. His actions inspired others to take a stand and fight the good fight for change. If you enjoyed this episode, let me know by giving this video a thumbs up, leaving a comment, and subscribing to my channel. I'll see you in the next episode. Signed, Jessica Marie.